Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Living with Intention. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for being here, thank you for showing up. I'm really grateful to have you here, and I hope you enjoy the video. The video this week is talking about how we talk to each other. Now, this could be how I talk to you, how you talk to your friends and family, how people talk to others, whether it's in person or online, or it could be how the media talks about other people as well. So just every aspect of people talking to people. On a basic level, we all understand that words have power. We can all think of an occasion when someone says something positive to us or something negative and the feelings we had. And despite this, we still sometimes say negative things to other people or things that aren't necessarily the most positive, and some people actively say these negative things to people. So I think it's really important that we discuss this topic, and I think it's really poignant at this moment in time because with the recent suicide of Caroline Flack and the media attention that was around her prior to that, and the light it was portraying her through and the things it was saying about her. We also saw the knock-on effect with this, and salons and hairdressers getting rid of showbiz magazines due to the toxicity that's in them. We've seen things like Meghan Markle and Harry being sort of ostracized for wanting to leave the royal family, and the newspapers and the fuel and the fire that comes with that. We see it in media very present, and I also have seen it on a personal level through my friends' comments that they receive, or just on platforms like Twitter or TikTok. So this is a topic that really does spread across a lot of areas. And on the topic of media, we see negativity and negative words used and people spoken about or shamed or judged so much in the media, whether it's the tabloid newspapers that don't deserve to call themselves newspapers, or the showbiz magazines that continue to say this is what people should look like, this is how their lives are going, continually running this commentary of negativity to try and sell papers. And the thing about this is the more that this is seen, the more that it is on headlines, the more it is in our eye. Like the book Thinking Fast and Slow says, what we see is all there is. So if all we're seeing is a lot of negativity, is a lot of the allowance of people to be shamed, to be judged, then suddenly it becomes, what we recognize, it becomes acceptable to us. And that isn't right, it shouldn't be like that, but that is what happens. And if it's okay on this platform, it's then okay for us to do it and to take that on, because that's what's happening everywhere. And especially in the media, it can happen, and there is no accountability to the words that are put out there and the impact they have on the people they're spoken about. But they still have consequences, and that is very evident, and we have seen that for a long time. And really, I think sometimes there's no difference between what is happening on through these media platforms and what is happening on social media. With the media platforms themselves, we must be conscious and intentional in what we consume. We mustn't click on these headlines that continue to disregard the person on the other side of the article. We must be conscious with what we consume and who it's affecting and the messages that are portrayed in that. Because if we click on it, if we buy it, if we give in to that message, we are helping it to perpetuate that and allow it to continue. And when it comes to social media, I think we really see the separation and the disconnect of people. I see it on a daily basis. I see, comments that are negative, that have no benefit, that are not constructive, that are thoughtless, unintentional, put on videos, on articles, whatever it may be, and they are so destructive, these thought processes, and they just aren't thought about. And it's not beneficial for anyone, but because there are these platforms where people can share their voices, especially behind a screen, they can be anonymous, they can have no profile picture, they can just share whatever they want and say these things without consequences, similar to what I was saying with the media. It just perpetuates this sort of cycle of negativity being able to be put out there in this way, and they have no accountability. They can continue to say what they want, and they can surround themselves in an echo chamber where they think that is acceptable, and those comments, and they'll see other comments like that and be like, yeah, this is the right thing, I'm right to do this. So I think that really there is this issue where people think that it is okay to spread these messages of negativity and hate without really recognizing that there is a person on the other side. But what we say affects people, and it sounds so obvious to say, but when you put a comment on a post or a comment on a video, it's not affecting the screen, it's not affecting the video, it's not affecting the avatar, that profile. It is affecting the person on the other side of that screen. And yes, people can actively, and we can actively choose to try and ignore negativity, but putting it out there in the first place and having it bombarded and it there is not beneficial to anyone. So if you find yourself putting negative comments on there or phrasing something in a way that doesn't benefit someone, that isn't constructive, maybe start to ask yourself and think, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of this comment? Because ultimately a lot of hatred, a lot of negativity, and I'm not saying this is what you have, but some people will find this, because a lot of negativity and sometimes even hatred comes from a lack of self-love, a lack of feeling self-worth, and then people can look to bring down others from this position. And because if we truly loved ourselves, if we were truly positive, why would we ever bring down someone else? Why would it ever come into our thought process? Of course it wouldn't, because we wouldn't need to. But people find that is the way that they feel better about themselves sometimes, that they just need to do that. And we find it with trolls, and we find it with just what happens in comment sections. But like I said, if sometimes you do find yourself, and I'm not saying you're trolling or putting hateful comments, but even when you're putting your comments across, I've seen comments in certain sections where people maybe use words or phrases or forget that there is a human on the other side of this, and that we should be coming at it from compassion. And if we want to share maybe some information that we could be constructive, just think about the words we use, think about how it's going to make the other person feel. And it's just about taking that external view, taking a step back and creating that space between just the thought and action, and making sure it's going to be beneficial for that person. And this isn't just something that happens online, obviously. It happens person to person too. It can happen with friends, family members, with strangers. We see it a lot in traffic jams and those sorts of things. But a lot of it comes from a place of emotion, of reaction. You see it a lot when people, they get frustrated or get angry, and it's sort of just their thoughts to words bypasses any sort of sense check, and then all of a sudden they say something that they regret, or say something out of frustration that maybe they don't mean, but that comes out, and without that thought process behind it, it can have an effect. It can be hurtful, because words can be hurtful. And in general, words can come out, and they can either be there to heal people, to help them, or they can be there to hurt people. If there's going to be two ends of the spectrum of how they work. And from a place of frustration, there are not going to be positive comments often coming out. So I think that's when it's important, if that is something you find yourself doing, and something I found myself do for sure at times of my life, was just reacting and not taking the time to breathe. And actually I started to do this thing where if I was in a frustrated state, or if I did feel angry, I would always take a step back. I would leave the situation, and I would come back to it and reevaluate from a clearer head, where I have a clearer mind. And I think that's so important, especially if you do find yourself as someone who can get frustrated sometimes. Because I think we can all be more intentional with our words, especially when emotions are running, and just creating that separation, like I said, between the thought and the words coming out, and just recognizing, is this beneficial, the thing we're about to say? Is it communicating what we actually feel in the way it needs to? I think these are really important things for us to think about. So I think it's about thinking about this bigger picture, and maybe not just thinking about ourselves when we say things, but the person we're speaking to, maybe even just putting ourselves in their shoes and how we feel about those things if they were said to us, and the tone that was taken. Because ultimately, we all feel the effect of words, we all feel the positivity and negativity that is translated through them. So, just really try and be empathetic with what you use and what you say, and just make sure the words that you are sharing are constructive. You can have banter with friends, you can have jokes being said, but if there's something being said that you don't feel beneficial to you, should say to them and say, this doesn't help me, I feel this way when you say that. And if they're your friends, and if they, are there for you, they will cut that out. If not, then maybe you need to start analysing who you're spending time with, how they speak to you, and if it's not in a way that's beneficial to you, if it's not good for your mental health, if it's not good for your overall positivity, then maybe you should look at distancing yourself from those people. And the one thing, I know I've got some parents who follow me and stuff like that, I also wanted to say that we need to think about our words when we speak to our children as well. Not that I have children, but we need to think about this, because what we externalize in our voice, our children internalize. And so, for example, you could say, oh, Sally's not as bright as the other kids. If she hears that, then that will become a dialogue within herself, and it could just be anything. It could be, oh, Jimmy's less creative than, or he's a better sports person than he's creative, and that could change their whole perception of themselves and how they live their life experience. So we just need to be careful about what we use in terms of words and how we use them and the intentions behind them, because they can be so positive, they can be uplifting. We all know, like I said, of those words that just bring joy to us, and when they are spoken, just make us light up. And we all know the opposite is true of words that aren't positive. So it is about being intentional with the words you use to other people, and just making sure that we are being beneficial and positive in what we're trying to say. And especially if we're not going to be beneficial and positive, at the very least, not being negative in what we say. We can be neutral, but just not being negative and sharing that negativity and hatred and those sorts of things, because ultimately there is no benefit to that. Yeah, so that is it from me, everyone. Like I said, the things we can start to do is create a gap between what we think and what we say, and just pause and think, is this message being communicated in the most beneficial way? Could I say it in a different way? How will they feel about what I do say? And I think also, like I said, just not reacting based on emotion, not reacting instantly. Let's just take our time, think about how the words we use affect people, and also just how we can spread more positivity and be more beneficial to those around us, and the sort of just how we can be kinder to one another. And that is, one of the most important things in a world where we can choose to be anything, choose to be kind. And that is, I guess, the takeaway message that I'm going to leave with you today. But thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for this video. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it beneficial. Let me know it down in the comments what you thought. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. New videos of intentionality coming out each week. So yeah, if you want me to do it on a certain topic, let me know and I will get that done. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you have the most amazing week, and I will catch you soon. Bye. Each day, letters, words, and sentences create conversations which are used in communication to share our thoughts and feelings with one another. It's such an incredible ability, and yes, there is positivity, but I still see the negativity on the daily, so many transferring their pain into words of hate shared with no gain for either person involved in this exchange. I've seen it walking down the street, no consideration for the person on the receiving end of their emotional frustration. I see it online all the time, behind the keys and that screen, these keyboard warriors, no leader in sight, their actions swift, hardly thought through in their mind. I see it in the newspapers and magazines that criticize and ostracize. Damn, they'll shame anyone who's alive until they push them too far. Cause of death, media manslaughter. No trial, no judge, no jury, no accountability for those who irresponsibly spread this negativity. So they continue, and it's just on to the next one. But we can no longer ignore the reality of the words we share so casually. We must acknowledge the truth, because this isn't playtime. Yes, sticks and stones may break my bones, but what you say could kill. We forget the words we speak have more power than we realize. They have the power to hurt or to heal. And you never know where someone stands, looking over the edge, stuck in limbo between enough and feeling worth less. but know that in one conversation, your words could be that mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. That one conversation can touch that person, shining like a light in the darkness, making them feel alive, reminding them of the beauty of life. Kindness costs us nothing, yet it could be the very thing that someone holds on to. So share words that uplift others, that bring a smile to their face. Compliment freely, voice your appreciation, be intentional. And in a world where you can be anything, be kind.